TikTok brain. People with no attention span, no motivation, and no concentration. This is a growing problem and no one is trying to stop it. TikTok has been around for less than 10 years. It's only really been popular for 6, yet it's done so much damage to our brains that we have a term for it, TikTok brain, which literally describes how much damage one app has done to our brains in such a short amount of time. What do you think is going to happen in 10 years? What's going to happen in 20 years? It's fair to say that it's probably not going to be great. It's absolutely mind-blowing to me that watching a highly stimulating and colorful movie condensed into 30 seconds is algorithmically designed to give you as much dopamine as possible, and you're able to change with the swipe of a finger. Would it all be bad for your brain? But surprisingly enough, it actually is. So what can we actually do about this? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you the 3-step system that I use to completely eliminate TikTok from my life. I've used it to help a lot of other people eliminate TikTok from their lives. Hopefully it can reverse some of the brain damage you've inflicted upon yourself and reduce brain damage in years to come. But I'm going to show you how to do this in a way that it doesn't even require your willpower. So this 3-step system follows the 3 steps of access, enjoyment, and identity. Without any further ado, let's get into it. So you want to remove TikTok, and the first step is going to be removing your access, or at least limiting your access. So I want to use this example straight away. Let's say that I'm a fat bastard. All hypothetical here. But I'm significantly overweight, and I think the reason I'm overweight is because I eat too many cookies. If I didn't eat all these cookies, I could be the next Mr. Olympia. I could be in insane shape. I could be more jacked than anyone else on earth, but I just eat these goddamn cookies all the time. Let's say that I have to go about my work. I have my desk set up where I get my work done. I'm working on my business. Let's say that I put cookies on my desk. I have cookies right next to me on my desk. Am I going to be more or less likely to eat cookies if I'm staring at cookies all day? Well, I'm probably going to be more likely to eat cookies. If I didn't have cookies on my desk, I'm probably less likely to be eating cookies. Now, why are we not thinking like this when it comes to TikTok? If you want to stop watching TikTok, well, you probably wouldn't put TikTok right in front of you. So if TikTok is on your home screen, if it's even on your phone, you probably check your phone at least 20 times a day. So that's 20 chances for you to stare right in the face of TikTok, stare right at those cookies all the time. You need to make it invisible. You don't want to be able to see it at all. So there's 2 ways you can do that. The first, most obvious way is to just delete TikTok, because not only is it not on your home screen, but it's not even on your phone. You would have to download it. It would be a whole thing. It would be a bit difficult, and you probably wouldn't want to do it. That's obviously step 1. But step 2 is you could also just remove it from your home screen. So at the very, very, very least, if you wanted to access TikTok, you would have to go to the search bar and search up TikTok. It's at least a little bit more intentional. It's not great. Obviously, the best way to stop using TikTok would be to delete it. But if you're not ready to make that huge leap, then you can remove it from your home screen. But of course, step 1 is you need to make the cookies invisible. You need to make the TikTok invisible, because if it's not in your sight, you're going to be far less likely to reach for it. So that's the first one, is of course you need to make it invisible. So delete the app, or at the very, very, very least, remove it from your home screen. None of you by the end of this video should have TikTok on your home screen if you're actually trying to remove it. The second thing is that we want to either remove or reduce the access you have to TikTok. Now, of course, if you don't have TikTok, fantastic way to reduce access, because you literally can't access it. But if for some reason you decided, I still need TikTok on my phone, whatever that reason might be, you want to reduce the amount of access you have to it. So I use an app called Opal. But what it does is it blocks access that I have to TikTok. If I want to access TikTok at a certain time, I basically have to go into the Opal app. I have to, wait 20 seconds, and then I have to, go and take a 15-minute break where I can actually access TikTok. A bit of a pain in the ass. So a pretty good thing to do. If it's more difficult for you to access it, if it's more of a process for you to get on TikTok, it's obviously going to be pretty amazing. Now, you can either just block access for it at all times. You can have Opal as your bodyguard telling you to piss off or, F off. Or you can have blocks of time set up. So let's say for the first 5 hours of my day, I can't be on TikTok. I got to actually do something with my life. So, you get up at 7 in the morning. Between 7 in the morning and 12 in the afternoon, you can't access TikTok. Opal is going to say, sorry, mate, you can't access TikTok. Then after 12, you have access. Whether you want to use it or not, up to you. I actually do this not with TikTok. I just don't have TikTok on my phone. But for apps that I want to reduce access to, but I keep on my phone, I have a schedule set up so that between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. at night, I can access those apps. But other than that, I literally can't access it. I can't touch it whatsoever. I think it's definitely a good play. I mean, Opal is probably the king of app blocking apps. So I would definitely go for that if you're going to keep it on your phone. But effectively here, we're just adding as much friction as possible. We're making it hard to see and then hard to access. And the third one is you want to make it annoying. Now, I personally don't think the time limits are that effective because literally in 2 taps of a button, you can just ignore it and then get back on TikTok. But I think time limits actually serve a good purpose. Let's say you set a time limit that you can only access TikTok for 10 minutes a day. And when those 10 minutes are up, you get that time limit notification. Now, this isn't really going to prevent you from watching TikTok because you can just ignore it straight away and go back on TikTok. But the purpose it serves is a reminder that you suck. It's basically a reminder to say, you shouldn't be using this app for this long and you're a bad person. You shouldn't be using this, but you are. So you suck. And effectively what that's doing is making TikTok less enjoyable. You feel a little bit guilty the fact that you're on TikTok. So now you've made it invisible, you've made it hard to access, and you've made it less enjoyable. That's going to be an absolutely fantastic way to start. So I remember when I did a complete purge of pretty much all the apps on my phone that were what I would consider as entertainment, as in the only purpose they were serving is to just feed me dopamine, make me feel good. I completely purged all of those apps completely. I made them absolutely invisible. They weren't on my phone. And because they weren't on my phone, I stopped going to them. And when I stopped going to them, I kind of realized I never actually needed these in the first place. They added nothing to my life. They were just draining my attention, draining my energy, and keeping me distracted. And when I made them completely invisible, when I had apps like Opal that didn't allow me to access them at certain times, and I actually never used the time limit thing because they were just gone completely or I couldn't access them. But I certainly wasn't using the apps as much. And I started to realize I don't even need these in the first place. They're not helping me at all. And it was a huge realization I came to. And just having these few things in place, just removing it from my home screen or deleting it completely, having blocks in place, it was a huge interrupt to say, hold on, do I actually need this? So after we've sort of removed access, after we've made it more difficult at the very least to access, the next thing that we should be doing is that we should be trying to make these as boring as possible. We should be trying to make TikTok as boring, as bad to use as possible. The first thing you can do is you get an app called 1sec. The way 1sec works is that you download it, you set it up on your phone for TikTok so that every time you open TikTok, every time you go to start, scrolling your TikTok, this blank screen opens up and it effectively makes you wait 10 seconds. It goes, breathe, hold on a second. Do you really want to do this? Is this really what you want to be doing with your life? And then after those 10 seconds are up, it's going to give you an option like, do you want to continue to TikTok or do you want to close the app? And it's just a really good pattern interrupt because it acts as like a block. It says, you can't just habitually go straight to this. And the habit is really noticeable. I mean, I definitely had this I remember on Instagram I had this. I had Instagram, it was just a habit, open my phone, boom, click, TikTok, Instagram straight away. And when I had this 1sec, I would just notice that, do I actually need to be on Instagram right now? What am I doing here? Or is this just what I'm habitually doing because I know it provides me a little bit of dopamine because it feels kind of nice? So it's just a great little pattern interrupt. And we're sort of wired ourselves like computer code. Like, this is our default setting. If bored, then open phone. If phone unlocks, then TikTok. If TikTok opens, then you start scrolling and you get your dopamine. But the way 1sec works is it kind of interrupts this automatic process. So it goes, if you're bored, then open phone. If phone unlocks, then TikTok. If TikTok opens, then you have to wait 10 seconds. And then after those 10 seconds, and then during those 10 seconds, you have to contemplate your life choices. You have to see, is this the right move for me? And then you have to make a decision. You have to go, do I want to continue or not? And then after you've done that contemplation, after you've realized what on earth am I doing with my life, you might turn off your phone. You might say, you know what? I don't want to do this. And let's say this reduces the amount of times that you actually open TikTok by 20%. That's probably a huge difference. Realistically, it's probably a lot more than that, because a lot of us are using this like habit. We just go, okay, if bored, then TikTok straight away. But if at least you have to kind of wait and you have to go, oh, do I actually need this, or am I just doing this out of habit? It really just interrupts that pattern. It makes it a little bit less enjoyable to go on TikTok, because you constantly have to, kind of like the screen limit, say, what am I doing with my life? This doesn't seem too good. So that's the first thing. The second thing we can do is we can make our phone more ugly. The reason I love to make my phone ugly, like as ugly as physically possible, is that the uglier your phone is, the less likely you are to use your phone for entertainment, for just, spiking that dopamine, for just feeling nice. When you stop using your phone for the entertainment factor and you start using it for more of the utility, for more of a tool, you're going to be much better off. And the best way of doing this is to make your phone as ugly as possible. The way I do this is I just always have my phone on grayscale mode. My phone is always gray. And try to scroll TikTok while it's black and white. I bet you it's not as fun. I bet you it's less enjoyable. And if it's less enjoyable, if you don't feel as good when you're watching TikTok, you're probably less likely to want to go on TikTok. So you're thinking, damn, my phone is so ugly. TikTok is not as fun as it used to be. I don't want to use TikTok. Fantastic. If you start thinking, I don't like TikTok as much, probably a good spot, because you're not going to want to use it as much. Now, the next thing that we can do to make TikTok really unenjoyable is you can actually just delete your account. So you delete your TikTok account so that you have to start a new account all over again. Now, you're probably thinking, well, why would I want to delete my TikTok account? Well, there's a good reason for this. Unlike a video game, for example, where the first time you play it is the most fun it's ever going to be, or watching a TV show, like the first time you ever do that, it's the most fun it'll ever be, TikTok is actually almost the opposite. Because of the way the algorithms work, the first time you use TikTok, it's kind of shit. It doesn't really understand what you like. It doesn't understand what you enjoy. But the more you scroll, the more you provide that algorithm feedback. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. This provides me the most dopamine. The more your TikTok is going to start feeding you exactly what you like. And if you delete your account, if you completely have to start all over, it's like starting a video game all over again. You lost all your algorithm progress. Let's say you were there and you were just, watching girls shake their ass on TikTok for, 4 hours a day. And then you delete your app and you start getting knitting tutorials. You're probably like, what is this? This isn't what I'm used to. This isn't my old, pre-game lobby for Pornhub. This is completely different. I'm watching knitting tutorials. What's going on? This isn't fun. And I'm watching knitting tutorials in black and white, and I have to contemplate my life choices to even get into the app in the first place. This sucks. I hate TikTok. I don't want to use it. That seems like a good place to be. That seems like, I really don't want to use TikTok. And obviously, if you don't want to use TikTok, you're probably not going to use it. I remember combining this trio of the 1sec, the grayscale, and opal so that I could only access it certain times of the day. When I did, it was in black and white, and I had to do it through 1sec. I just hated everything that I said. Okay, I don't want to be using this. You're getting all the treatment. You're getting the 1sec, you're getting opal, and you're in black and white. I just didn't want to use it. And after a while, I really just stopped using it completely. I post every single week on Instagram. My Instagram time is under 5 minutes per week. That's almost impossible. But it's because I hate Instagram so much, because it's so ugly, it's so boring, that I don't want to use it. And you can get this exact same effect with TikTok. If you decide that you don't want to just remove the app completely, perfect way to go about it, because it is so ugly, it is so boring, it is so trash, you don't want to use it at all. And the next thing you can do is you want to actually start shifting your identity. You want to start changing the way you think. It's personally why I think that something like Alcoholics Anonymous doesn't exactly work that well, because the first thing you do when you go to an Alcoholics Anonymous, so I've heard, I personally haven't been, by the way, but they say, I am Cormac and I am an alcoholic, right? You start by admitting that you're an alcoholic. You develop that identity of I am an alcoholic. That's completely the wrong way of doing it, in my opinion. If rather than saying, I watch TikTok, I'm a TikTok addict, you say, I don't watch TikTok, that becomes your new identity. And now that you're watching TikTok less and you're starting to identify the fact that I don't watch TikTok, the action of not watching TikTok and the identity you have of someone who doesn't watch TikTok, the more you don't watch TikTok, the more you strengthen that identity. And even though at the start, you might not really believe this that much, you might not really believe like, okay, I mean, I watched TikTok yesterday. I'm not sure I truly believe this. But the more you don't watch TikTok and the more you say to yourself, I don't watch TikTok, the more you're starting to reinforce that identity, that I'm someone who doesn't watch TikTok. And having that identity is very powerful. It's a very important first step. But the second step you should do is you should actually have some accountability to it. Don't just say it in your head. Don't just say it behind closed doors in your bedroom. Tell people. I have the 10-person rule. If you're trying to eliminate something, if you're trying to get something out of your life, make a claim. So for example, if you're trying to stop TikTok, I don't watch TikTok, and make that claim to 10 people. Tell 10 different people, hey, I don't watch TikTok anymore. That's not what I do. And now a lot of them are like, hey, but you were watching TikTok yesterday and you watched an insane amount of TikTok. Doesn't matter. I don't watch TikTok. And over time, they might think like, okay, you're full of shit. But, you know, after a few weeks when you haven't touched TikTok, they're going to be like, okay, maybe this guy's onto something. And what happens if you actually go back on TikTok is that these 10 people are going to go, ha, so you are a liar. So you're not telling the truth. You do use TikTok. And subconsciously, you now are letting down 10 people if you go back on TikTok, if you start using TikTok. So TikTok is going to suck even more, because not only are you watching black and white knitting videos and having to wait 10 seconds and then, you know, contemplate your life, but you're also letting down 10 people to watch that black and white knitting video. So you're probably not going to want to do it. And these 10 people are very important because they're subconsciously holding you accountable and making you much more likely to not watch TikTok. And the third thing is that you want to be in the right social circles. If you're one of these people in a circle full of people who watch TikTok all day, they literally just spend all day watching TikTok, you're probably going to be more likely to watch TikTok than someone who's in a circle full of people that think you're an absolute idiot for watching TikTok. Simple as that. So if your friends are all watching TikTok, first of all, send them this video. Tell them, what on earth are you doing? Like, let's get this out of our lives. But if you start associating more, and this is really goes for anything in life, if you start hanging around with people where the desired action that you have is normal, it's much more likely for you to do that action. So if the desired action is not to watch TikTok, then being around people where not watching TikTok is normal is going to significantly increase the likelihood that you don't watch TikTok compared to having the desired action of not watching TikTok, but only being around people who are just complete TikTok fiends. So of course, we're better off being in a better circle. So now that you've shifted your identity, now that you've actually created some sort of accountability and surrounded yourselves by people where that action is normal, much more likely to stop watching TikTok. So that is the full guide of exactly how you can get rid of TikTok. If you actually implement all of these things, I would be very, very surprised if you still want to use TikTok. I think this is a pretty foolproof method of you almost eliminating TikTok completely. So if you want to know how to eliminate not just TikTok, but every single bit of cheap dopamine for life, you can book a free call with me and I can see how I can help you. If you like the video, please subscribe. I will see you in the next video.